Just to give you context, we are a residential real estate firm, and we're a small firm. So right now we have 5 people on our team. We are positioning ourselves to grow. Um, Really, our intention is to double within the next 6 to 12 months. So that being said, I knew when I got to the point in my journey that I wanted to grow the business. Hold on one second. That I wanted to grow the business, that I really would need to level up in a lot of different ways, and technology was really one of them. So I don't know, has anybody I feel like I've come a long way because when I started in the business, this was my tech stack. So I don't know if anybody else has ever used a Palm Pilot, but that's kind of where I started. So to be where I'm at in my journey is funny.
I have one
So
of them.
so over the years, we've used a lot of different systems. And again, I've been doing this for 20, 22 years. So, systems have come and gone. Initially, we started out using Microsoft products. We moved to Google Workspace in, I think, 2013. Interestingly enough, it was probably 2000, maybe 7, I actually demoed Zoho CRM and tried it out, and didn't end up electing to use it at the time, but it's just interesting that everything has come full circle. So these are kind of the things that over the years we've used. The challenges that we've always run into is that, number one, they sometimes they're very expensive. I call them not, they're not very small business friendly in terms of budget. And then also the ability for these systems to talk to each other was very limited. So again, over the years, we've used a lot of different things, but due to cost the and really because we would still have had to duplicate efforts a lot, we honestly just were operating, quite honestly, up until we adopted Zoho, we were operating basically on the Google Workspace platform. So meaning, you know, sheets, docs, all of that stuff, and really had no the systems were in our head, quite honestly. And so I knew that in order to grow the business, I really needed to level up in terms of technology and systems and processes. So that really started the journey a couple of years ago. So, so that was me tearing out my hair. So, so we really adopted, I would say we fully adopted Zoho in spring of 2022. And that's when we finally moved over off of the Google Workspace platform and started using Zoho Mail, Docs, everything. So now we are, I would say, fully over. We don't operate within the Google platform anymore. The only thing, books, we ran simultaneously last year to get our accounting team comfortable with working in books. So we ran QuickBooks and Zoho Books simultaneously. But this year we're fully in books. So these are really what I call our daily drivers. Obviously, the communication platforms, email, Click, Docs, CRM, those are really the core of what we use every day. But honestly, we probably touch, with the exception of Show, honestly, this is the first time I've used Show, we touch these almost daily. These are the things that I say we've deployed, but we're not necessarily either using as much or we haven't really started to leverage them fully. So for instance, like Backstage, we have run 2 programs off of that but that's just something we don't need regularly. Bookings, we're working with actually the bookings team right now because we're running into some problems integrating that. But again, these are deployed and our intention is to fully leverage them. These are things that are on our roadmap, but we just have not implemented them yet. So this is our this is how we've designed our system. And this is what I've learned in this journey. Everyone's business process is different. Their business needs are different. And the way that you can and architect is not even really the right word, but design your system, it is almost infinite. You can do it any way you want. We have opted to take what I call an account centric um, kind of we basically designed it around accounts. So accounts are the base. Every contact within our system is tied to an account, whether or not it's one person or 20 people in the account. So this just kind of lays out how our different modules. We have a lot of custom modules to help us kind of accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And so some of the custom modules we have, and we'll see a little bit because I'll demo a few things. We have an offers module. Um, Eventually, we want to get to the place where agents submitting offers on our listings can do that through a form and have it automatically feed into our system. Right now, we're not at that phase yet. So we are entering the offers that come in into the offer module. The offer module is tied to the deals. It's also tied to inquiries. So on listings, if we get inquiries on properties, we also have a showing feedback module. We have a presentation module, a property marketing module, a cities module. The cities module holds uh, dynamic charts and graphs that we use in our presentations. So it was easier to create a module that houses all of those dynamic charts and graphs and then be able to just reference them as needed when we create presentations. So again, I'll kind of demo that a little bit later on. We created a testimonials module, commissions module, a properties module, a vendors module. Got a lot going on. All right. These are just two other modules that we created that kind of aren't really, I would say they're more helper modules. The team module, this houses everything, and maybe I'll just jump over and show you that. This houses things related to our team members. So things like a link to, a link to everything that's related to them. So link to their resume, link to their bio, their license, like anything that I need to track, even continuing education we have in here. So that's really the purpose of that module. So this is just kind of an example. So this was our old process, quite honestly. All of our files were housed on Google Drive, and we were using Google Sheets to track our transactions. The problem with that is it's very labor intensive, and the importance of really having our documents the state can audit me at any time, and there are certain documents that have to be within my files. We honestly had no formalized system for being sure, other than just a manual process for checking off that the right documents were in the file. And so one of the things that I wanted was a way that based on the transaction type, we could build in the structure and hierarchy of what is required for this sort of transaction, and create basically a method for us to track whether or not it's in our system, whether it's been reviewed. We also have to keep what's called a broker log. This is just Arizona state law. Like they require us to keep what's called a broker log, which is a log of all of our transactions, and it has to be chronological. It has to have certain things on it. So we were using Google Sheets to manage that. So what I wanted was, again, a system to just automate all of that stuff and track it. So what we were able to do, and that's my messy broker log. So not fancy at all, and it had me tearing out my hair. Okay, so what we have been able to do with Zoho is, with the use of Creator, we've created a document management and approval system. So essentially, these are within Creator, we have created all of the basically placeholders for all of the documents that are required by transaction type. And then all agents have to do is, when they get a document that needs to be submitted for approval, they go into CRM, they upload the document. The document is then sent to whoever is the approver. In this case, it's me. So I get an email that allows me to view the document, and then basically electronically approve it. So we've got a time-stamped approval, which does suffice for the Arizona Department of Real Estate for approval. I don't necessarily have to sign it electronically. In the past, the process would be, my agents would have to upload the document to our signing platform and then send it to me electronically. I sign it, it goes back to them, and then it's filed. So this has completely streamlined the process. It also allows us to create some rules around, whether or not documents are in on time. So I can track, I can create in the system a rule that says, hey, if this document hasn't been approved by 7 days after contract acceptance, send a reminder. So this has been a big win for us in terms of efficiency. And back to the piece where again, the Arizona Department of Real Estate requires me as the broker to have what's called the broker log. We were doing that manually. So we've created a system in analytics that, and I didn't write it, I had my developer write it, but basically it's, I think it's a query table that looks to our CRM and then renders the broker log automatically, so nobody has to log in. As long as our system is kept current, our broker log is always 100% current, which has taken a lot of stress off of me, because again, I'm subject to an audit call at any time. So the other thing that we've created is, I'm labeling it presentation automation. So when we go out and our agents meet with potential clients, typically sellers, we're doing what's called a listing presentation. And in the past, creating the listing presentation would involve us going into the multiple listing service, researching comparable properties, and then basically creating the presentation in Canva. So even though we had a template for that, which was great, we still had to hand type in the name of the property, pull in the photo of the property, type all the details. So it was a very manual process. So because I'm a broker, I am entitled to get a free API feed of the MLS data. So we created a connection with the MLS and CRM that allows us to pull in properties into our CRM. So and we also work on a platform called Webflow. We moved our website over from WordPress to Webflow. Webflow has, through Zoho Flow, can talk to Zoho CRM. So our process now for creating a presentation, we have the template created within Webflow. And actually, let me just see. I think I have a demo of it. Oops. There it is. So we have the presentation created within Webflow. The process now is for the agents to select the comparables. We then enter the comparables into CRM by typing in the MLS number. It pulls in the property records into CRM. We then have a presentation module where we make some changes to the presentation, and we then publish it via Zoho Flow, and it creates this. This is an example of the presentation. So we also tie to that presentation, we use the cities module to pull in dynamically the charts for the specific city. So for instance, those charts, all of the embed codes for those charts sit in our cities module in CRM. So we can just dynamically pull those in when we need it in a presentation. So this has streamlined our presentation process dramatically. The other thing, let me go back. The other thing that we've done is we've leveraged CRM and Flow and Webflow to create our single property sites. So for instance, this is a single property site that we create for all of our listings. And this is populated, most of this is populated automatically via Zoho Flow from from basically our CRM modules. So my goal is always enter. I don't want to ever have to retype anything. So that's my goal. So if it's in CRM, I want to be able to access it in all the places that we need to access the data, rather than copying and pasting. So we've, again, through Zoho Flow, we've been able to, for the most part, automatically generate this, with the exception of putting in the photos. That, because we don't house the photos. The photos are in Work Drive, but they're not sitting in CRM because they're too big. So yeah, so that's one of the other things that we've been able to do to just kind of create some efficiency within our processes. Already talked about that. Okay, so this is not the sexy part of the business, but one of the things that I would constantly be getting emails about from our accounting team was asking for copies of the settlement statement. We need the commission disbursement form. I need the W-9 for for the cooperating brokerage. So what we've been able to do is, through Zoho Flow, is once a transaction closes, and this is just giving an example. So right now, this is in books. It's showing we don't have any manual journals. This is on my deal record right now. I check a box that says basically, send to Zoho Books, and it automatically pulls all of the information off of the deal record that needs to be in the journal entry and puts it there in draft mode. So now the accounting team, all they have to do is come in, look at it. We've also been able to tie in all of those documents that they were always asking me for. So now via custom fields, we're able to link out to those documents that they need so they can see them right in the journal entry. So again, this was just, it just streamlines the process. Everything that I'm doing right now, we are a small team right now, but all of the things that I'm putting in place is really in anticipation of growth. So if I have 100 transactions a year, 200 transactions a year, I need to put things in place that streamline all of this back end sort of stuff. So Zoho has really allowed me to do that. So the other thing that we have really tried to do is leverage API feeds a lot. So again, I'd already talked about the fact that I can get the API feed from the MLS. So we have a properties module, we pull all of our, basically for every deal, we create a property in our system. So if we're listing something that we have not listed before, we would, so we didn't have the property within the system, we would go out to the MLS, get the old MLS number to pull in the base data of the property into our system. We also leverage the property module for creating our listing presentation. So we pull every comparable property into our system by typing in the MLS number. And then we assign those presentation properties, is what we call them, to a listing presentation. So
Aimee, is that a manual process? How do you pick which ones you want to comp?
Well, that is, yeah, I mean, that's what an agent has to do. The agent has to go out. You can't get beyond that. It's like, that's not an automated thing. The agent goes out and using their expertise, they choose the specific comparables that they want and then pull them into the system.
Okay, yeah, so they just enter the MLS number and it pulls it in, kind of like a Remind does or something like that now.
Yeah, so that's it. It's now populated. I think that's a $50 million property. That's not my listing.
Now, do you guys have only one MLS out there? Or do you have multiple MLSs?
Oh, we do. We just have one. We're blessed to only have one.
So what would happen? Would it blow a hole in your boat if you had two MLSs?
It would just be, I mean, it would just be two feeds. And
well, yeah, I know. So the challenge that we have in Atlanta is we have two MLSs, right? For the same property. So we've got 123 Main Street, and it's got an MLS number, let's say 2222, and we've got a Georgia MLS for the same property, and its MLS number is 3333. Same property, two different MLSs. This, to some extent, is the problem that Zillow solved, because what Zillow did is they became a member of every MLS in the country. So they pulled an API feed, a REST API feed from every single MLS that they were a member of, and they created this massive database. And then they figured out how to dedupe it, right? And that's what they then presented to consumers, and that's why they've grown crazy. That's the secret sauce of Zillow.
Right. So there would probably be a way to, so in my mind, it would be like, well, can you just pull in by API number? But still, you've got the record sitting in, or not API, I'm sorry, the parcel number, which is going to be unique, and there's only going to be, but the other thing that I'm thinking could probably happen is somehow in analytics, there's that the deduping happens in analytics. Like I don't know exactly how that would happen, but it's like, that's probably, if you wanted to implement that system, probably analytics would need to dedupe it before it pushes into.
Well, the reason I bring it up is if this is something that if you have aspirations of wanting to sell this solution to other real estate companies, make sure you check that box, because there are definitely other cities that have multiple MLSs, and this will create a problem for you in the future.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay.
All right, I'm going back to my hole.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, so we talked about that. So the other thing that we've done is, again, using the API data and also using analytics. So essentially, the Department of Real Estate in Arizona publishes a CSV file of all of the real estate agents and their license numbers, the date they were licensed, all of that stuff. It does not have phone numbers in it. It doesn't have addresses. It doesn't have that. So using analytics, so we upload that CSV file, and our developer has created a process where we basically look out to via API to the MLS and pull in and update the agent records. So this is an example. It'll just show you. So we've got a fetch button. And so this is somebody that was in our system but had not been updated. I think we uploaded people before we created this process. So right now we've got like 65,000 agents within our CRM, which makes it easier. We're on Ring Central, so when an agent calls, I already have their name. I know who's calling because they're in our CRM system, and we are linked. Our CRM system is linked with Ring Central. So this has been good too. Just again, anything that we can do to not have to retype things, and there's no reason why, if we have 100 agents, that 100 agents would have to type Eddie Strong's information into their iPhone. It's like, just go to our system and the data is going to be up to date there. So
it's also a tremendous tool to take into campaigns, so that when you do have a listing and you sort your database by agents that have sold something in that territory, boom, right? That's pretty slick.
Right.
Let me ask you this. One of the challenges that I have with Zoho is the ability to import more than, one of you guys can help me out. Is it like 5,000 rows at a time or something like that? What's the limitation, and how do you get around it?
So
that's probably a Zoho question, not an Aimee question.
Yeah. So we have been leveraging analytics. So and I have to be honest, like, I've got an awesome developer who has made a lot of this stuff work. I'm basically kind of the brains behind it. He makes it work. So that feed that went into the 65,000 agents, I believe that was a feed. He created an initial table and then probably pushed it in on some sort of sequence. It was not a situation where we were in CRM and tried to upload 65,000 rows into CRM. It was a link between analytics.
If we agree that the real estate agents turn over about as fast as cakes do at a bakery, then you're gonna refresh your database once, twice a year, maybe something like that. What's the goal?
No, so our process is once a month we upload the new CSV file from the Department of Real Estate, and then he's got it on a cycle to cycle through and look at all of that data and update things. And then he's also created the update button too within our CRM record that allows us to really in real time go out and query the MLS for that person's phone number, so on and so forth. So this is, I will be honest, this is a relatively new process for us. So there may be some bugs and things that we need to kind of fix. Like I think I did notice like maybe an agent is in there twice because, or maybe their old company, they switched companies. So their old company is still in there, but it's an inactive company. And now they're in the database under the new. So I'm probably going to have to massage that system a little bit so we don't get bloat, because I don't really want the historical data in there. I just really want current data.
I think your standard operating procedure is pretty slick. I mean, just as a normal everyday thing, look, if you're talking to this agent, just hit the update button today, you know, because if you, even if you're doing it, if you're doing it on the 29th day of the month, the guy may have changed jobs on the first day of the month. You're still 4 weeks late, right? So
precisely. Yeah. So then the other thing that we've been able to do is Handwritten is a company that does, basically it's a bot that handwrites the greeting cards. So you can order them online, put in your message, and then it's automatically sent to the recipient. So they have an open API. So we've created a platform, and it sits in Creator, where basically our system can talk to Handwritten, and we can create an automated process for sending out cards. So our intention, this was the first test. This was they sent it to my house to test it. So the intention is that within our system, we could have some standard cards with standard messages. We also would have an ability for the agents to go in and write a personal message if they, wanted to do a handwritten personal note. But that's kind of the framework that we've created. It also gives us the flexibility if we want to create some just standard automation around it. Maybe we select, 10 people that will always get a birthday card from us, and then that just automatically happens. So again, the framework is there. We have not really built it out, and we've only just tested it yet, but I'm pleased with the framework so far.
Yeah.
Then
No. Regarding Pete's question to Zoho, for the number of records which we can import. Sorry, I was waiting for the solution, and Karthik is here from our CRM team. Karthik?
Hello, hi. Hi, Aimee. So I had a question like how many records, maximum number of records we can import within CRM. So for the module, it would be based upon the editions. So with the Ultimate Edition, you can import up to 50,000 records, and with the Enterprise Edition, you will be able to import up to 30,000 records. You can even update the existing records as well using the import option. And in case if you're having a large amount of records, you can still use the migration and work on it.
Yeah, that's what Aimee
what
was
about
saying.
is the size of the file a limitation? So let's assume that I had name, address, telephone number, eye color, shoe size, hair color, how many teeth you had, what your kids are named. Obviously, I only need their name and email address, but the size of the file is 200 megabytes or 2 gigabytes. Does the size of the file come into play?
Okay, so if you have such large set of files, then only migration could be possible. Like you can have a zip folder and you can migrate the data, but for the regular import, it would be like 25 MB, 25 megabytes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that was my challenge. Is mine is much larger than that, and I was like, all right, I'll try the data prep wouldn't work. I tried import wouldn't work, and I'm like, all right, I gave up. So, but Aimee has the same thing. I mean, when they're in Atlanta, we have something like 54,000 real estate agents in Atlanta. and the amount of information that we have on each agent is huge. And so,
Right.
you know, it's not a trivial task to import that stuff in. So migration is something to look into, huh? Or analytics, it sounds like. Okay. Thank you.
Sure, Peter.
So,
yeah, Aimee, please continue.
okay. So this is our most recent project, and this really just, it's still in the process. We've got the data feeding. So we are importing all of the MLS data in Arizona, in the Arizona regional MLS, into analytics. The reason I'm doing that is I want to be able to have the ability to report granularly and do analysis on a very granular level. And there are a lot of different companies or resources to get the MLS analytics, but you're tied to how they have decided to render the information. So in one reporting platform, I may not be able to get down to subdivision level. In another, you know, so I wanted the ability to be able to dial down as to a small, you know, to the very, basically the reporting metric that I wanted to look at. I did not want to be tied to everybody else's system and what they decided was important or not. So this is, and this dashboard is really just an example of, to just show you, like, I'm trying to get a system in place for my agents to be able to go into analytics and pull up a dashboard and filter by a subdivision or filter by a zip code or filter by whatever they want, and be able to see kind of standard metrics or a dashboard. So the business need that this addresses, there are a lot of times I go to meet with a seller, or I'm working with a seller, and I'm literally going into the MLS and doing the data pull so I can get the numbers and writing them down or putting them in a spreadsheet, and then running the numbers or exporting the data and putting it in a sheet so I can analyze it further. So this will give us the option to, or will eliminate us having to do that. So right now, because it's like 2.9 million records, it's gonna take a while, I think, to get them all in there, but we've got the feed working. So my challenge is I need to get in now and really learn analytics. So even if I don't build the dashboards, it's like I think I need to know enough about the capability so I can basically design that system for our team. So that's really, I think that's my last slide, honestly. Let's see. Yeah, that was my last slide. So, all right. Any questions?
I'm just curious, how are you using Zoho Learn?
Oh, so Learn right now, Learn we're not doing the training programs through Learn. Training programs will be through probably through Trainer Central, quite honestly. Learn is our repository for all of our documents, our standard operating procedures, all of our SOPs, all of that. I have actually, I'm not using Zoho Connect right now, but I feel like there are certain things that maybe are in Learn that maybe need to be in Connect. I'm not quite sure, but at any rate, like right now, we're not doing formalized training programs through Learn. That will be Trainer Central.
Okay, and the reason why you chose Trainer Central over Learn? Just curious.
Because I want the ability to sell anything that I do, and share it outside of my ecosystem, outside of my company.
Okay, so Training Essential gives you the ability to teach those SOPs internally and externally. Another question.
Uh-huh.
So, you on that screen where you show the other CRMs that you use. I mean, you use Top Producer, Easy Agent, and Line Desk, and those are all vertical solutions for real estate. And one would think that within those solutions, they have all this stuff already taken care of, thought of as far as the documents, the presentations, all of those things, but you still chose to come to Zoho. So what was it about those vertical solutions that specifically for what you do that pretty much didn't meet your boutique's needs that you saw in Zoho?
Yeah, I don't. So those systems, those systems don't provide you the flexibility to they might provide some customization, but they don't, like, pretty much using the Zoho ecosystem, if you need to, you can customize it so much. And so I didn't want to be locked in to doing things the way they designed it. So, and plus, I don't think none of them have all of the things, at least that I came across, that I was willing to pay for. I mean, there might be some systems out there that you are paying several $1,000s a month for that do a lot of what Zoho can do, but the ability to use Creator if it doesn't work within Zoho, I just can do it in Creator, and have it all talk to each other. I mean, that's why I chose.
Thank you. And maybe one last question. So, like when Ben was asking about the documents, if they were in Creator or Work Drive, you're like, they may be in Creator, they may be in Work Drive. So what that kind of brought to my mind is when you were designing, when you like to use the word design as opposed to architecting your system, what advice would you give to another broker or agent as far as best practices? Because it doesn't seem as if you get down in the weeds. It's like what you want to have done, what you need to have done, and you get the right people to go ahead and do it. So if you can just kind of open up that logic that you use to kind of make sure that you're advancing the ball forward to where you want to be.
Okay, so I think what I would say is you're right. On that very specific level, I did not know. It's like the documents are sitting someplace, but I don't know exactly where. So I didn't know the answer to that question. And certainly, the things having to do with analytics and all of that, like, I don't understand exactly how I know where to look, like, oh yeah, you did the query table there. Like, okay, now I understand how it's happening under the hood. I just don't know how to do the query table myself. And I don't know SQL and all that sort of stuff. But I did get, like, I do know the system quite a bit. And one of the things that with my developer, it's like, I always ask him, it's like, I need to understand how this is happening under the hood. So he'll do a Loom video for us and walk us through, this is what's happening here. Here's where this, so I guess my advice would be for the business owner or whoever is in charge of implementing this, really learn the system, because I don't know, me kind of understanding on a maybe not super deep level, but on a mid level, what everything does and how to do most of it, except the analytics stuff. And I don't know how to code, but I'll be honest, my executive assistant has learned how to use the basic Deluge stuff. So I just don't have time to get in the weeds of that sort of stuff. So I guess I'm rambling, but I think I've learned the system a lot, and I follow like a lot of the people, the developers, they're putting Zanata, Leor Isaac. I follow all the stuff Zoho puts out. I'm constantly consuming to understand as the business owner how I can implement, because there's so much out there. And the developer is not going to know. Honestly, we have to, as the business owners, we have to tell the developers and designers about our business process, and we have to know enough about the system to kind of know how we might be able to put that together. I don't know. Does that help? Does that answer help you?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let me just say this. I've been down the road before. Sugar CRM was on that list. I started with a developer years ago, knowing in my mind kind of what I wanted to build, but I didn't know the system enough. And so I couldn't give them enough direction. And so, you know, if I'm giving them garbage, meaning not enough information about what I actually need and what my processes are, they can't give me the best results. So, so anyway, my advice is to somebody starting out is to just really learn the different modules and think about your business processes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yep.
Just
Any other
curious.
questions?
Yeah. Yeah. In any of you integrated Zillow? I know there's some issue with integration with Zillow and they're not providing APIs. Anybody here tried?
Used to
I had
have the
yeah, I used to have
the
it.
free
but-
native one, and then it stopped working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a deal breaker? Is it a deal breaker, or we can still survive without Zillow integration? Or it is an important aspect?
I don't like, I mean, it's a nice to have. I think that there's probably a way to, there might be a way through some sort of script to pull it in if you really needed it, like at least like via a link. I'm sure there would be a way to do it. But
Yeah, for
think
me,
we
I
do.
mainly use the ability to click on it and then open up the Zillow page, more
Right.
so than the data that it pulled back. And I haven't
Right.
really looked into whether we could generate a link to do that easily enough, but it didn't have a ton of functionality, so for me, it's not a deal breaker.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And are you in, I don't remember, are you in residential or are you a wholesaler? I can't
I'm
remember
a
exactly.
flipper and wholesaler.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Okay. Was there anything that I shared, Ben, was there anything that I shared that you think might be useful? Like that
The document
kinda-
stuff was very interesting to me. We don't have nearly as many documents, but contracts, closing statements, and that sort of stuff we upload, but we do it as part of the blueprint, but it doesn't get
Okay.
you know, it does, you don't have the reminders, it doesn't, there's no approval necessary, but sometimes we'll skip that step just because we need to proceed ahead. And so that was pretty nifty. The stuff you're doing with the presentations is very interesting. We have, when we wholesale properties, we basically have a website that we post our deals to. And that is, we're using WordPress for that. And I've thought about the idea of, having it generated from Zoho information, but we don't do enough volume where I figured that effort is worth it at this point. I have my VA, upload that information into WordPress, but I can totally see how the value of doing it the way you did.
So
It was very interesting, a lot of the stuff you shared.
the other thing I would say is I've been so happy with the fact that we moved from WordPress to Webflow, and honestly, that the fact that there is the integration, there is so much that we are able to do. Like, for instance, generating all of our email signatures, that's created within Webflow, and so we can dynamically push. If we upload 10 new agents into our system, we can create that integration where it can automatically send over that data to Webflow, which can be used then to automatically create our HTML email signatures, the web pages for our agents, all of that. So
That's very cool.
yeah, I mean, just being able to talk with Webflow is like it really opened up a lot of things for us to do and automate on a presentation kind of piece. So.
And the other things you got me thinking is, one, you used a lot of custom modules, which I thought was interesting. Like, you know, we deal with lockboxes and stuff as well. And,
Yeah.
you know, I never would think of having a custom module for a lockbox. Let's just stick, you know, the lockbox code, you know, as a deal, or, you know, a property, whatever you want to relate it to, field. But putting it in its own module was interesting, I thought. And
And you know
it got
the
me
reason
thinking
why
of some other ways to use that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so the way that I look at it is, anytime somebody is going to ask me a question on a deal or a property or a person, anything related to business, if I have to email that to them, I want it in a module where I can create a template and it will know, like, okay, when I send out the templated email to the appraiser who wants to know what is the CBS code for, the system can automatically know that if it's in the system. So
Right.
that's why we have so many modules, because it's like, okay, if we need to use this more than once or we need a process to that, like, let's just make a module and have it linked to the appropriate place so we can use that data.
Yeah, it got me thinking. We have alarm systems in our houses, lock boxes on our houses. We have utilities with different account numbers and logins and stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah.
And the last thing I was very interesting. I've been trying to figure out, and Pete talked kind of about this big data uploading and whatnot, and I'm kind of interested to explore using analytics more. I do use analytics a bit, but we've got, like, I don't have MLS access, but I do have data on all the properties, and it's 1 million records with hundreds of columns. So it's huge files, and being able to, you know, I would love if that data was in and accessible inside CRM in a useful way.
Yeah, and you know, and it might not even, like, I don't know if your need is specifically to have that data within CRM or to just have whatever data in analytics so you can look at it. I guess it really just depends on what it is, but you can use analytics apart from CRM. It doesn't, it's just, yeah. So, but no, I'm super excited to dig into analytics. And there's actually I missed it, but they were doing a free beginner analytics. They did it early May. So supposedly they're supposed to be doing another one next month. So they've got beginner and maybe intermediate and advanced. So I'm going to jump on that the next time because as a business owner or somebody just that needs to report on the business, I mean, to be able to really work within that system is, I think, going to be pretty powerful.